This has been a great day for a president. It seems like I go to one meal and speak, then speak in between, then speak at the next meal. So, and there's one more tonight. So at least I'll get 3 square meals today, but unfortunately you're going to have to hear my voice all the way along. Many of you were at the convocation ceremonies. What a great event that was, and 2 wonderful honorees, and I'll reintroduce them in a moment. For those of you who were not there, we won't want to give you short thrifts, so you're going to get the whole 9 yards of what I'd like to say about this great occasion. We have traditionally used the luncheon at Founders Day on behalf of the MSU Foundation and all the wonderful folks who have been generous to this university through its foundation over the past year, and this year we're going to talk even about years in the past and about the future. Each event such as Founders Day really has a special purpose. And those of you who help us from the private giving really are allowing us to look forward to an even more fulfilling future. As I told the 2 audiences I've had today, I couldn't wait for this day to come. 18 months ago, we started the process of saying we need to celebrate our 75th anniversary as a state institution. And I asked a member of our faculty who had just retired at that point in time and was on what we call our early retirement program, which means we pay them half-time and work them full-time, if she would take on a responsibility of calling people from the community together and people from the university, both staff and faculty and students, to help plan a year-long celebration of our 75th anniversary. I couldn't have made a better choice. It is absolutely amazing how this has come together, and today we really are at the starting gate of the celebration. Actually, we are past the gate because we have 2 events behind us and a few more yet today. Outside the doors, there is a brochure of all the events. Well, I take that back, not all the events. Of those that we could get in here before publication, of activities that will take place throughout this year to commemorate our heritage and the wonderful future of this institution. They're events for everyone. They are those of you who like the higher end in terms of entertainment, in terms of activities that are in there. Those of you who maybe come to the middle or a little further down, like I tend to do a great deal, there's events there for you also. There's events for the family, there's events for the old, the young, students, faculty, staff, friends alike. Our goal, I think, is a very noble one, and that is to have everyone who has been touched by this university, whether as a student or an employee, a townsperson, a relative, no matter what the course that got them here, we want them to return at least one time during this year to celebrate with us. The bookstore is filled with opportunities for you to commemorate these activities. 2 such publications I will mention just briefly. And I forgot to say Sue Lucky to stand up, who chaired this. Where are you, Sue? There you are. I didn't forget you. And any members of her committee, if there are any members of her committee, if you would stand up also. Bill Redwine and Bonnie, Charlotte, Terry, Myron, Fran, thank you all. There are 2 publications that have been worked on here for a period of time, and one is completed and one will be coming to fruition in September. Somehow or other I got unattached or detached from, no, not that, from the calendar. There went $10 down the drain that I spent for this morning. But at any rate, imagine this. The calendar.
It's a 2-year calendar.
Thank you, Bonnie. Is a 2-year calendar. It's about twice the size of this. It's over 2 years. And it's just filled with pictures. Every date has a picture. And then in the date, it says something historical that happened at some time during the institution. We spread those across the 2 years so they all wouldn't be crowded into one. That was the brainchild of my loving spouse, Bonnie, who I'll introduce in a moment. But she's introduced herself early. I'll get it when I get home, I know. The second document is a definitive history of this place. Don Flatt, the author. Stand up, Don, and let them see you. Don was commissioned by the university and by the foundation and supported for the last year to create this document. It is in pre-publication sale now, I believe, at $29.95, and will be $34.95 when it hits the market in September. The document is 350 pages of the glorious history of this place, and I've got a little glimpse of some of it. I haven't read it all because Don didn't give it all to me to read. He just gave me parts I think he wanted me to see. And this place has a really rich history. As a matter of fact, the screenplay rights are now open for anybody that wants to invest. We're going to try to make this into a movie. But it's a wonderful book. I think it's something, as many of you who are alums and longtime friends of the institution or are members of our faculty and staff, something that you will be proud of, and I know that you will enjoy. We also have provided, if you notice the little lapel pins, I think they're everywhere. This was a design that was created for the 75th. It'll be used this year, and it's on all of our, it's the logo we use on everything for this given year. And this was designed by one of our alums in a contest, a national contest. And so at least you have one of these, and hopefully you can keep that and wear it. And they would, you know, people always prompt me, and I take it so nicely. No, it's a very good point. It's being mailed to 40,000 alums also as a gift from us. So it'll be mailed, I guess, the next time we mail out our major mailing to alums. I was interviewed on the television about 3 weeks ago about higher education, the state of higher education. I got to tell you this little inside story. It happened. KYT did it, a television station in Lexington, and we were talking about some serious stuff. I mean, we were talking about the future of higher education, and we went right down almost to the wire. There were about 4 or 5 minutes left, and they went to commercial. And the fellow leaned over and says, "I'm going to ask you a few questions of importance just about school." He didn't tell me what they would be. So he came back on the air and he said, you know, Dr. Eaglin, you all are involved in a very, very important search at your institution for an employee. And I says, yes, you know, we are. I'm really pleased that you would ask me that. You know, the academic vice presidency of this institution is really one of the most important positions for the next 20 years of this place. And he looked at me and his mouth dropped open. Now here's a pro. Obviously he was not referring to what I consider an integral part of our institution. Not that I don't think all parts are integral, but it really threw him for a loop. And of course he was questioning us about 2 other searches that we were involved in at that time, and that's for our men and our women's basketball coaches. And I noticed when I looked out in the crowd, at least 2 of the 3 that we have hired are here, and I'd like at least to introduce them because it is the future and there's a lot of excitement about it, and I thought I'd at least take the time to introduce them. Wayne Breeden and Kyle Macy, who will be leading our men's program. So if you all stand up. And I also was told that Laura Litter would be here, but I think there was a 6-foot forward that she wanted to get down in Tennessee, and I think she's in Tennessee because I think they can only recruit now to the end of this week. Well, now let me get to my written notes. First, I would like to introduce to you those who are sitting up here with us today. First, my spouse, Bonnie Eaglin. She takes a lot of abuse from me, but believe me, this is a team. And the last place I left as a presidency, no one said goodbye to me, and there were tears when it came to Bonnie. But Bonnie Eaglin. Now, to demonstrate my lack of leadership and communication, there were two other very important people that were supposed to be sitting up here, but wherever they sit, they certainly grace this institution, and that's President and Mrs. Nelson Grody. On either side of me, it's always great to have great volunteers, people who give a great deal of time. In this case, both do, and they're a husband and wife. The chair of our foundation board, Proc Cottle, and his wife, Bobby. And those of you who were at the convocation today had an opportunity to hear one of our firsts, and I think he did good by us. And we're certainly pleased that he would take the time to come back to his alma mater and grace us with his words of wisdom, and also what he does when he leaves here and represents us in the United States Congress. Congressman Ron Lewis and his wife, Kay. And he didn't know I was going to introduce him because he's not on here. But to put a gathering like today, you might think it's simple, but it's not. It takes a lot of people, a lot of folks working together to bring it all together. And I do have to, from time to time, look to my side and ask a question, and there's always somebody there with the right answer, trying to keep me on the right page and not let me ad-lib too much. But Keith Capus has provided that role. Vice President Keith Capus, and he's looking at his notes. This is a day where we asked a lot of folks to come back who served us over the years, and we certainly want to recognize them. We have a lot of folks here who have served as Board of Regents in the past of this fine institution. I'd like, as I call their name, if they would stand up, and we'll just hold our applause until they're all up. They're spread throughout, but I think they're all relatively close. I see most of them. First, William Cofield from Frankfurt, Billy Joe Hall, Mount Sterling, Dr. Charles Pelfrey, Olive Hill, Mike Fox, Olive Hill, Brian Hutchison, Moorhead, H.B. Gillum, Tays Valley, West Virginia, Donna Fawcett, Moorhead. Let's hear it for these folks and all the things they've done in the past. And on the other list, which he didn't give me, Carlos Cassidy, John Duncan. See how wonderful it is? But we do it in such a way that the audience doesn't realize that I've messed up. He gets a horn and says, "You did it wrong." But it doesn't take away from the fine work that you all have done, for sure. Our current board members, several of them are with us today, and I hope they're behind me. It's always a danger when you do this. John Rosenberg, Ms. Helen Pennington, Dr. Bruce Mattingly, Gene Caudle, and Jason Newland, our current members of the board. Also seated here in front with family and friends are this year's recipients, just a few hours ago, of the Founders Day Award, and I would like to bring attention to them. First, Mr. Bob Bishop. Bob. And the family of Martin Huffman, if you would stand, please. There are two outstanding women I'd like to introduce, both of whom you'll hear from later, one at a dedication ceremony that I'll be explaining immediately after lunch, and another person that I will explain and will introduce more fully later. They are seated right up here. First, Ms. Lucille Little of Lexington, who's that's you. And all the way here from California, Ed and Ruth Shannon, if you will. Both Ms. Shannon will be on our program later in the luncheon, and Lucille, our friend and benefactor, will be on this afternoon at a very important event right after this. So we thank both of you for being here. If you noticed, you didn't get dessert, and that's because none of you need it. That's all I got to say. But in case you didn't notice, you don't have a dessert served at this meal. But we want to invite you after the ceremony this afternoon of the dedication of the bell tower for birthday cake and ice cream on the President's lawn, just like you did when you came here as students 10, 20, 30, and 40 years. We're going to have it again on the side yard. So you will get dessert. You will get dessert. We have lots of people to recognize and give hardware to here today. But before we do that, we're going to relax for a few moments and really be treated to an outstanding duo. The voices of Roma Prindle and Dr. Ricky Little, accompanied by Larry Keenan.
That heaven I'm dreaming of.
Every young person that comes out of Eastern Kentucky, we're going to make sing like that before they leave. Roma, Ricky, thank you very much. At this time, I invite Proc Cottle to join me on the floor to present our awards. Keith Capus, CEO of the foundation, will assist us. See what happens when I read? Will assist us.
As long as you remember my name on payday. Senator Stivers made a commitment to us a moment ago that if we ask for new air conditioning for this building, he'll get it funded. Thank you, Senator. We do apologize. We had a malfunction that hopefully you're feeling some relief by now. Each year at this luncheon, we honor several people who have helped us immeasurably in our private giving efforts. We have some individual awards, but we also recognize new members of the Society of MSU Fellows. And I'm proud to tell you that although not all are here today, we have 31 new MSU Fellows this year. Their names are in your program. They're highlighted in bold type. And all told, the 240 members of the Fellows have given or pledged to date $7.4 million to the university, and we thank you. This year, we want to induct the following new fellows. We will ask them to come up. We have a couple pinch hitters. Hootie Allen and his wife, and Bobby Allen, his brother, and his wife are new fellows. They are not here, but they have a representative. Lee, are you here? Lee Allen, to accept. Thank you. He needs 2 pylons.
I'm trying to get a picture here, folks, too, so when you come up, we're going to come here to the center. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Rick and Kathy Armstrong. Rick, you may remember, was here last year to take a bow for helping us with the Heritage Room. He is second generation or third generation in the hardwood business, and one of our dear friends and alumni. He and Kathy being recognized this year for their own giving. Mr. and Mrs. William Bradley of Moorhead. And while they make their way up, I want to point out to you that Mrs. Bradley is the granddaughter of W.L. Jane, who was memorialized with our football stadium. And she's been a big help to us in giving her grandfather proper recognition in that area. Her husband, Bump, is better known as our unpaid assistant golf coach, who his job is to keep Rex Cheney out of jail on road trips.
You might also announce that I also give his retirement about once a month.
I didn't see him come in. Arthur Cole. Arthur, you here? Okay. Mr. Gaines. All right. Don and Betty Hall. All right. We'll mail the ones who aren't here. Mr. and Mrs. Hutchinson, they are both ill. Thought we might have a sub for them. Okay. I know these folks are here. Doctors Mac and Sue Lucky, please come forward.
How long do we work with that?
10 paces behind.
Mrs. Maris, Pauline Maris. Jean, would you come and accept for your sister, please? Jean Flannery of our staff. I didn't see Terry McBrayer. Kathy, did your boss come? The McHughes had another commitment time. Lois McHugh. The Neffs also had a conflict. Didn't send a representative. Okay. The Playtechs, Richard and Lucy Playtech. And I know our last new fellow was here, Mr. Harold White. Barbara was detained with a family medical problem, but Harold's here to represent both of them. The Whites have been great friends and were instrumental, as the Armstrongs were, in the Heritage Project. As your program shows, each year we try to recognize organizations, individuals whose giving not necessarily is the largest gift of the year, but who's significant for various reasons. Here we want to recognize Lexmark International from Lexington, and here to accept for Lexmark is one of our own, Jim Nichols, an alum and a Lexmark manager. The Most Valuable Giver Award. These individual awards that we give to people who help us raise money has a Latin phrase on it. Bill Redwine tells me I mispronounce it every time, but it means money doesn't grow on trees. And we certainly know that. You want to try it?
You write all the words, you ought to be able to say it.
My Latin's not very good, President. I'm going to start going to church with you and work on my Latin, though. Both of you. It's Father Steve here. I need some help. Faculty and staff members who help us raise money do that in various ways, and each year we try to identify a couple of them who've gone beyond the call of duty, and this year it was not hard to do that at all. The first award for outstanding faculty staff fundraising goes to the chair of our Department of Communications, Dr. Janet Kinney. Dr. Kinney? Dr. Kinney helped us literally rescue our campus radio station from some difficulties, and we're not totally out of the woods. As you're aware, there's a current fundraising campaign about to start, but Kinney helped us reorganize our fundraising efforts on behalf of our public radio station, and we certainly appreciate it. The second award for outstanding faculty staff fundraising goes to Dr. Mike Carroll, who's Dean of the College of Business. Mike not only has encouraged, he's led by example his own faculty and staff to be involved, and they are very much involved. You'll soon see the fruits of a project Mike handled personally, the Court of Flags outside the Combs building, reflecting now the global nature of business. 4 nations, flags of about 40 nations will be displayed. Thank you, Mike. High school days are happy days, and people remember those things and have great memories. And the next 2 people we're going to recognize wanted to make a permanent impact. Each of them organized fundraising campaigns to endow scholarships in the name of their respective high schools, neither of which exist anymore. The first of those awards goes to Dr. Jack Ellis, who's retired director of libraries here, for his work on behalf of the Moorhead High School Scholarship Fund. Dr. Ellis. When Dr. Ellis was working in public education in Florida, he was better known as Ellis from Pinellas. The other Volunteer Fundraiser of the Year award goes to the person who we think had one of the first ideas to do something about preserving the heritage of Breckenridge School. William Earl Clay stepped up and said, I'll start it, and it has mushroomed into the largest collectively funded endowment that the university and the foundation have. William Earl Clay. As a result of their efforts, and by the way, William Earl is also chairman of the Breck Society Board of Governors. He's retired from IBM, and he told me this is the first time he's really cleaned up in about a month. You're looking really dapper today, Bill. Okay. All right, you can sit down. You want to talk about the 75th award before we start into it?
We, in planning the 75th, we wanted to do, as I said earlier, a lot of things that would bring people back. But also because we are looking at our heritage and looking at persons who have served us in the past in so many, many different ways, and those who will come after them and really after me in terms of serving this great institution. We wanted to create something that, that would commemorate not only this day, but also talk to the future. So we had developed, and you can see them up in front, this pylon that I think is quite attractive. I wish we had the endowment of Harvard. We would have put it in gold. But or it's one of the big glass companies. Steuben. Yeah, we would have had a Steuben. But this is our Steuben, and it means just as much in terms of those who would receive it. If you were at the convocation, you probably thought we came to a rather abrupt end. And we did. Mainly because I was to give the first of these away during the convocation, and I looked underneath and there was nothing there, which told me that I had better do something different besides giving out a fake one of these. So Ron Lewis, if you would come up here, please. Congressman. We wanted you as our speaker and as our first representative of Congress to have the first of these. And I'm going to shake your hand and hand to you and not get it too messy as I do it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's a great honor. Thank you so much.
President Eaglin wants to make some individual presentations of the 75th anniversary pylon. We're going to do that to some individuals who have served the institution. We'd like to invite President Grody to come forward first, please. Hang on, let's wait for a photo. Faculty Regent from 1981 to 1987, Dr. John R. Duncan. Our current faculty regent, who was first elected in 1993, Dr. Bruce Mattingly. If you're on the board now or been on the board, get your coat on. Staff Regent, elected, the first ever Staff Regent, elected in 1994, Gene Caudle. And when you put your coat on, turn your collar down too, all right? Student Regent, 1982-83, Donna Todich Fawcett. Student Regent, 1984-85, the county attorney in Carter County, he paid me $2 to say that, Mike Fox. Student Regent, 1989-1990, H.B. Gillum. Student Regent who got left out of the program, but it wasn't my fault, Carlos Cassidy. Student Regent 1995-96, who has a bright future, we believe, as a fundraiser, Brian Hutchinson. The current Student Regent, Jason Newland. Citizen Regents, 1979-1982, Billy Joe Hall. Citizen Regent, 1989-1992, William Cofield. Citizen Regent, first appointed, currently serving, 1991, Helen Pennington. Citizen Regent, first appointed in 1992, John Rosenberg. That's it. There'll be other presentations at the Alumni Awards dinner tonight to other groups. Mr. President.
Well, congratulations to everyone. Excuse me a minute. That's hard work. Vi and I had a wonderful visit to Southern California a year or so ago, and the highlight of the trip really was to go to Whittier, which I had never been to. Matter of fact, I had not been to Southern California, to visit and enjoy the hospitality of Ed and Ruth Shannon. Now, Ed is a graduate of Breck, and his father was a member of the university faculty, and Ruth is from Bracken County and has a degree from MSU, and many of her family members have degrees from MSU, and both of them have been fellows of this institution for many years. The Shannons have been very active in supporting Whittier College, and today Ruth wants to say something about their interest in this institution, so please welcome Ruth Shannon.
Toward me? Thank you, Dr. Eaglin. It is special to be here today, very much like our speaker this morning, Representative Lewis. I think often in our lives we are aware of what Morehead State, it was Morehead State Teachers College when I started here, but what Morehead State University has meant to me during my life. And even though I have not lived in Kentucky for many years, we're almost, well, I'm not getting into years, but a long time. It's always fun, and never do I forget that Morehead State University is my school. We watch it. We watch the news and the sports programs. And yes, we rooted for Kentucky the other night, even though we didn't bring in a winner. So we still feel that we are Kentuckians, even though we've lived in California for many years. And the first person I want to recognize today is, and I like the fact that Ron and Bonnie say they're a team, because Ed and I have been a team these many years. I met Ed here at the Morehead, and his father was my biology professor, Dr. E.L. Shannon. I don't know if any of you would remember that name or not, but let me introduce my teammate, Ed L. Shannon, Jr. Ed? You heard Dr. Eaglin say that Ed did graduate from Breckenridge, and even though we couldn't come back and participate in the exciting events that took place during that celebration, we participated in another way, and we do get all the news, and we're hoping to meet have some of those people around during today and this evening, and kind of renew. I'm sure we won't recognize each other, but we'll have them pointed out to us. But why we're here today is when I started to school here in 1941, I didn't realize that I was really starting a family tradition. Of course, I met the Shannons, and Dr. Shannon was my professor, and we became good friends, and then I met Ed, and I'd like at this time to introduce Ed's only sister, Margaret, who was a student at that time. Margaret? But I graduated in 1945, and I have had many members of my immediate family, the Boggs family, who are here today. And I hope I don't leave anybody out, but I think I know who they all are. And I'll start with my sisters. There are 5 Boggs girls, and we're all here today. And I'm going to ask them to stand. My Burl, and I call her Dutch, Opal, and Jeannie. Jeannie is, there she is. That's all right. Jeannie will wave her hand to us. And my youngest sister, Maudie. All 3 of us have graduated from the university, and we feel that we have blue and gold blood in our veins for sure. Thank you. Now, Burl has 3 daughters with her today. Jackie, along with her husband, Gordon Mullins. Just remain standing till all 3 of you stand. And Charlotte. Charlotte teaches in Richmond, Virginia, and it's very special that she could be here today because it just coincided with her spring vacation. And the youngest daughter, Becky, who teaches in Winchester, Ohio, and Becky brought her daughter and her grandson, who's all of 5 weeks old, John Robert Young, and we hope that he'll come here in a few years. Now, that's Burl's family. Thank you. Oh, I almost forgot. Sherry, my Burl's son's niece-in-law. No, but Sherry is Burl's daughter-in-law. Sherry, stand and take a special bow. Sherry was not in our family, and I didn't even realize until just not too long ago that she was a Morehead graduate, so she's very special in our group too. Now, Dutch is my second sister, and her son, Kenneth Jett Jr., Kenny we call him, and his wife Janine. Now yes, Dutch, these people are graduates of the university. And then Maudie. Maudie is a graduate, and she also did graduate work here in library science and has just recently retired. But if you read the newspaper in Maysville and Brooksville, you know that she isn't really retired. She's very active in education circles. So that's my immediate family. Now let me see, who have I missed? My brother's daughter, Linda and Bill Brucken. Linda, would you stand? And Bill? Linda is principal of a school in Jamestown, Ohio, which is kind of near Dayton somewhere, but it's very special to have them with us today. Now, I haven't introduced, Ed and I have 3 children. We have 2 sons and a daughter, and we inveigled Kathy to join us today. Kathy Shannon Johnson. I think that one of my longtime friends, we don't say old friends because longtime friends, but Ruth Fields Sycophus. She was Ruth Fields way back then when I was Ruth Boggs, and that was kind of interesting. We decided when we changed our last names we would change to something different, but we didn't. We both married S's. So Ruth Fields Sycophus and Ruth Boggs Shannon. But Ruth and Chuck are here today. Stand and take a bow. They're also, stand. And many of you know that Ruth is Madonna's and Martin Huffman's aunt. Jean and Keith Huffman, Jean Fields Huffman, Ruth's sister, now deceased, and their daughter is here. Anne, would you stand and take a bow? This is part of the Sycophus family and really a part of our extended family. So I hope I didn't miss anybody. Did I get everybody? Is there anybody in the room who hasn't been introduced? But Ed and I, thinking of what Moorhead does mean to us and has meant to us, it brought us together for one thing. And having all of these people, excuse me, who have graduated from here, I thought it really is something that we should do. So with that in mind, we are setting up an endowment education fund to help with teachers. Most every one of these people I introduced who has graduated from Moorhead is a teacher. Kenny's a minister, but isn't that right? A teacher. Do we have anything other than teachers and principals? So we're all in education, and it seemed only proper that the gift we're giving today will be the Ruth Boggs Shannon and the E.L. Shannon Jr. Endowment Foundation to be used in the education process.
Thank you.
You're very welcome.
The Shannons is a very significant gift to our foundation. Also, I don't know if you've worked out all the detail. I've heard some of it, but I think I've got this right, and I think it's a wonderful idea in terms of a fund for those who are in their student teaching, and this happens, and those of you in education know this, you know, our folks who come here, and it's always so good to see these extended families here. But they come to us and they hit student teaching, they have to make extra dollars, and sometimes that little bit extra is what allows them to get their student teaching done for the loss of income. And this particular endowment will be to raise funds for those types of persons. And that's the first time that's happened. It's wonderful, and we thank you for your generosity. And when you're using the terms of generosity, all of us give in so many ways. And there is another in this audience who has done a great deal to this institution over the years, and we're going to honor her and her late husband in about 15 minutes by the dedication of the bell tower. So we are encouraging all of you, and especially if you wanted that dessert that you did not get, we have a ceremony that will take place in 15 minutes from now, which will be about 20 minutes to 2. If you go out the front door and walk up, you cannot miss the bell tower. It is absolutely gorgeous. It is a future landmark of this institution. There will be a ceremony there that will last about 15 minutes. and then we will adjourn to the President's side yard for finally you'll get your dessert. Thank all. Whoop.
The people who got individual fundraising awards are wanting group pictures.
The folks who got the individual fundraising awards, Mike and others, we need to take one group picture of you so everyone else is excused and can get, it's warm, it's cooler when you get on the other side of those doors.
Do you know Mike Fox, Tony Rogers?
Those are down. Keep it down on the corners there? Thank all of you. Thank all of you for coming today. Can you hear in the back now? Great. It's a little bit of a feedback up here, so I apologize. Welcome to the dedication of the W. Paul and Lucille C. Little Bell Tower, which is the official name. From the beginning of the concept to its 99.9% completion, this has been a very interesting project, and probably one of the most interesting that I've been involved with in my some 30 years as an administrator in higher education. But one which has been very fulfilling, and I think when you hear the sounds of this wonderful instrument, you will agree. We need to acknowledge several people besides our honoree that made this possible. First, we had to have a contractor, and we selected, I believe, one of the finest friends of Morehead State University, and they took this as a challenge and moved forward. And I would like for them to receive our recognition, and I should have had them all sitting up here, so they're spread everywhere. But Keith and Lynn Pack of Pax Incorporated was our contractor. I saw Lynn, I hadn't seen Keith. Where are you? Lynn, come up here and let them see you a little bit. Yeah, you can do that. Don't be shy. The project superintendent was Don Atkins of Pax. And Don, we'd like for you to be recognized. Don, you here? Don's out building something else, I guess. All right. David Marshall from Louisville architectural firm of Joseph & Joseph. Now, Joseph & Joseph is the same firm which designed the original campus. And in working with Lucille on this project, she said, let's go back to where it began. And as you know, the rest of our campus is on the National Register of Historic Places, So we would like to recognize a representative from our architectural firm, Dave Marshall. Dave, where are you? Here he is, right here in the tan suit. This project is not fully completed, as you can tell. We have covered up the earth with this green carpeting. The ground is still a little bit uneven, but as you leave today, you may want to look on the music stand underneath the microphone or underneath the amplifier, and it shows what this whole area will look like, hopefully before I retire. I've told Lucille I'm going to do everything in my power to make it happen. As you know, 2 years ago, a terrible storm came through here and wiped out this whole side of the campus to the left. The trees, not the whole campus. And it's hard to replace 60 and 70 and 80-year-old trees, but we feel that the landscape architects have given us a great design of how to build the center spine of this campus, with this tower really being the focal point. And our own physical plan has done a lot to get ready for today, and I'd like to recognize them, Harold Haggard and Lee Waddell of our physical plant, who provided so much help on this project. Where are y'all? Over here on the far corner. I saw Keith go up and down this walkway many, many times. I heard him say over here. I wasn't really calling you, Keith. I was going to give you some recognition. But I became a little worried about him because he was, you know, pretty fast pace up and down here, and, you know, Keith is not what you would call a petite man. But he really served as the project manager and worked with everyone through the foundation to make sure that we would get to completion. And if you would have been here 1 week ago, you would have wondered if we were, but we have. There were even ladders on here yesterday afternoon late. So Keith, our thanks to you for all the work that you have done. And also to get ready for the day's ceremony, besides the Lord that gave us a nice cool breeze, and the sun now has been covered a little bit by clouds, it takes also other people to get things ready and to have them ready. And I'd like to thank Steve Lights of the physical plant for all you've done in your crews to get things done. Steve, I don't know if he's here or not, but he's around. And Steve, as usual, a great job. In your programs of all the day and evening activities, there is a page which says Bell Tower inscriptions. I'll show you a mock-up. Keith has one behind me. These are not the ones that will be used. Now, Lucille will tell you that this was very easy to come to, right, Lucille?
Everybody I talk to.
Lucille has a wonderful way of making her friends and those that she trusts feel very good. And all of them would have wonderful ideas, and she didn't want to lose that idea. Unfortunately, as president of the university, I had to say, Lucille, we've got to come to closure if we're ever going to get them up. Well, we don't have them up yet. So she's got one more last chance. But I think if you read these, you start to get an understanding of what this event and what this bell tower means to Lucille. The words were carefully chosen, and they do reflect the lives of two wonderful people that will also be enshrined here forever at this institution. I'm going to say one thing. I told Lucille, does she mind if I funned with her a little bit? She said she'd have it no other way, and she's a great lady and is able to take things in stride, and she's seen a lot of the world and understands. I made a mistake. I didn't pay attention to detail, which has become a little bit of a source of embarrassment for Lucille. I don't want her to feel embarrassed because it's not coming from her. I'm going to take full responsibility. And it will change. I promised her it would change. The names, which are very prominent at the pillars, at the bottom of the pillars, shall we say, got a little enlarged. Not through any fault of the architect, it's just things that kind of came through. And Lucille had told us what she wanted, and I must admit, in all of my time of working with her, I let that little detail go by until it had about 5 tons of stone on top of it. And I have promised her that we will make the names a little less prominent, but it will take a little time, and she said she would give us that time. She's not going to make us tear it down because of that. But I know that she said she was embarrassed. She's only told me that 17 times walking up the hill. I want to tell you a little history of this bell. The time is coming. You're going to hear it for the first time with the time. Big Ben. O'clock, check your clock, check the time. By the way, we could jack that sound up, you could hear it on the interstate. That thing's like on 1/8 or something near it. It's adjusting its hands. I want to tell you a little bit about the history of this. Inside here, and I hope I'm not stealing your thunder now, but well, it doesn't make any difference. You'll make up some new thunder, I know. Way up there is a bell. I've been teasing kids as they walk by here. You know, a lot of our kids from Eastern Kentucky haven't seen things like this a lot. And they'll look at that bell, and I said, you ought to hear that bell play. They haven't really believed me, but some of them that act like they had. This was a bell, a historic bell. It was actually 1 year before this institution started. That's when it was made. And it became in the possession of the Littles and was placed on a farm. And it had fond memories, I think, for Lucille on that farm, and she and her husband. And it was that bell that kind of motivated her to call me and says, I want to do something up there at that place. I mean, I kind of mimic you. I want to do something up there at that place for my husband. You got my name on that college. I want to do something for my husband. And we started talking. Well, I said to her, I said, well, Lucille, how much money you want to spend on this thing? You remember that? Well, she started out at $5,000. And I said, now, Lucille, I can get a 45 RPM radio, or Victrola. And every hour I can run out and plug that baby in and play it over a loudspeaker and then yell the time out. Well, she's a good sport and a wonderful lady. And we moved from there over the next year and a half. And you remember the time I came out to your house, Dr. Louise? And I asked you to come in and referee because I didn't want to deal with it by myself because we got the final estimates of what I thought we should do. And as gracious as she is, we came to an understanding. And I'm glad that we did come to an understanding because this is going to be a landmark for this university for generations and generations to come. It will be on the postage cards. It will be on the Christmas cards. It will have people married underneath it. It will have memories of people much, much, much into the future. It certainly is a landmark. And they did a wonderful job building it in with the architecture that is here. All we need is a few birds to mess on it a little bit and get a little dirtier, and it'll look like it's been here for 100 years. We are going to play 2 musical selections, and then Lucille has a surprise for us later, I think. But we would like for you to hear. Now, let me tell you how this is going to work. This thing rings every hour on the hour. We're going to start at 8 in the morning. We're going to shut it off at 6 at night, mainly because we don't want our neighbors.
You can turn it off, can you?
Yes, ma'am. We can turn it down and turn it off. On the weekends, we're going to run it at noon. We're going to have a 15-minute concert every Sunday at noontime. During the week, we're going to have a concert every day at 12:30 to 20 to 1. That's between classes, Monday through Friday. And then we're going to have a 15-minute concert every day at 4:30, which is traditional time most of our folks get off work. So it will play songs. It is the Westminster bell, you know, da 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 da. You heard it all. And every 15 minutes you hear that. So that is how it will work. But we thought that you would like to hear a couple of the songs, and before I introduce Lucille for her comments, we'd like for you now, this is the control panel is on the 3rd floor of this building, by the way. And when I wave to them, they're supposed to start this thing up. So start it up. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, it gives me great pleasure to introduce one of our finest benefactors and a very good friend, Lucille Little. Lucille.
Thank you very much. This is all quite a pleasure to me. A year or so ago, we sold our Bourbon County Farm. And this bell was there. You can see it up here, but it looked so small. It's about this big, but it looks about like that as you look upstairs. And I just couldn't leave that bell out there with that farm. You know, the bells were quite an element of communication in the farms in the last century. If you won a race, boy, bang, 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 bang. If you had a new baby, you almost got that same ring. And if you had a wedding, I'm sure it was very sedate the way they rang the bell. And then, too, if there were some problem on the farm, if you had a fire or anything, it was a way of communicating with your neighbors. And everyone was aware. I wish I knew the exactly what the different sounds meant, but I've never seen or heard about that. But they knew what it meant, how they rang the bells. So I thought, well, what will I do with it? I mean, they brought it out to the house, and it's so big and so heavy. There it was in my garage taking up space, and I thought, well, you make a bell tower. That's what you do. Well, where you put it? Not in your front yard, for sure. So I thought, well, really, at Moorhead University, where I feel very much a part of the whole place, and actually started the drama department. I didn't stay very long. They didn't kick me out, but I left and got married. But anyway, let me get back to my thought. Well, where was I? All right, don't put it up here. Because I felt I had a conscience about the fact that I had given for a humanities department a very generous gift. And actually it just said Caudle Humanities. And I thought, well, that's not very nice. I didn't use my husband's name up there. All right, I need to make a dedication to my husband, Paul Little. So that was it. I'll do that bell tower for that motive. And so then we started thinking about, well, what does it mean? And I said, well, it must be an inspiration to all those who pass by. How do you do that? Well, you not only have the tower and the bells and the music and the time and so on, but it needs to have some words that mean the ultimate in life. Well, I tell you, you have no idea if you want to think of 4 words, 4 sides, that are the ultimate in the good life. So I possibly worried everybody I came in contact with for the past year. And finally I knew I had to do it myself. So really the reason for it, I hope it will be an inspiration to everyone who passes here. And on the roadside, the first thing you will see will be love. And to my mind, that's the first thing in life that is of ultimate importance. Then as you go to the east, which really represents the university itself, it will be justice. The learning of the truths in life. And what are the facts? And what do they lead to? And then facing the library, I put wisdom. That is the love and the truth and the honesty of life is turned into the wisdom of what you do in this world. Well, then I had to have something that reached out. And that was a difficult word to think about, but finally came up with service. I think all of this love, justice, and wisdom means that we must serve our fellow men. And I like to think of it like the Girl Scouts have said recently. You know, they've got hands linked, reaching around the world. And I think that's the most symbolic thing, and I love the idea. Well, I think all of this could mean hands around the world, and that faces our community. Well, then I tell you, I had another experience with a bell. When I was a very young person, maybe 9, maybe 10, maybe 8, I'm not sure. But we had the sweetest little church down on Main Street. Disciples of Christ, and of course my grandfather was there every day, and if I sang a song, he'd look right at me and so on. And I never will forget one. He fell over and had a stroke while I was singing a song. That's what I did to him. But he survived. Anyway, there was a bell tower in that little church. Do y'all remember any of you? I loved it. But it was quite a challenge to all my age. You had to climb up there. So climb up there we did. We met that challenge. And I shall never, ever forget the sight down. Oh, it looked forever. And then the ascending sight that was there. Of course, when I got down, my mother switched my legs. And you had to bring the switch to her. And it had to be big enough to hurt. So anyway, I did not meet that challenge again. And you know, perhaps in the future, I want to climb up this tower and ring that bell. And when I do, I want to get up there, and Paul Little's going to reach down, and he's going to say, come on up here to this secret place you've been waiting to go all your life. And he said, and your mother will not switch your legs for being in this tower. So I believed him. And before I went up there with him, I looked down and I thought, oh, I wish all of you would come up here with me.
This was choreographed. Here's the bells that he was going to pull. I hate following you. What a wonderful, wonderful person, and a wonderful, wonderful woman, and a wonderful, wonderful friend. Ladies and gentlemen, I think you're all here not only to honor Lucille and the opening of this bell, but also to get cake and ice cream. So thank all of you. I know Lucille is very appreciative for the strong support for this dedication. And now we're going to adjourn immediately to my left, your right, to the side yard of the president for cake and ice cream. And any of you would like to come up and say hello to Lucille, please come on up here and do it now. Thank all of you for your attendance.
Make sure they make my